Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I welcome you again to another story from the stories of the great women of Islam. Today, inshallah, we're talking about the second of the wives of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and that is none other than Sawda bint Zam'aa radiallahu anha. May Allah be pleased with her. Her name in Arabic, we call her Sawda or even Sawada. Both of them are acceptable. Sawda radiallahu anha, she was one of the first believers. In fact, she is one of the first Muslims in Mecca when Islam only had very few people, when a few people are Muslim. Sawda, she is one of the natives of Mecca. She was born in a noble family. She got married to a certain man who's called As-Sakran ibn Amr radiallahu anhu, who is one of the first Muslims. And that is how she became Muslim, also through her husband. As-Sakran is the brother of the famous companion Suhail ibn Amr. Suhail ibn Amr, as we know, was the nobleman, one of the noblemen in Mecca, and he very famously is known way before he became Muslim during the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. During the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, when the Muslims were going back to Mecca for the first time, and they were stopped at the place called Hudaybiyah, and then the treaty was signed and agreed by the Quraysh, the disbelieving Quraysh of Mecca, and the Muslims led by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Quraysh had sent various and different emissaries, but none of their people could make a deal with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam until when they sent Suhail ibn Amr. So As-Sakran is the brother of Suhail ibn Amr, and it's obvious that he had become Muslim way before his brother Suhail would become Muslim, years and years after. So As-Sakran ibn Amr, how did he become Muslim though? I think this is a point worth noting. When the Prophet ﷺ was given prophethood, the first person to accept was Khadija, and then the children within his house, and then of course his best friend Abu Bakr. But Abu Bakr is Abu Bakr because Abu Bakr is the greatest man in Islam after the Prophet ﷺ, only for one reason: he put effort, he was sincere, as-sadiq. Abu Bakr went out and gave da'wah to his close friends, associates, acquaintances. Uthman, Az-Zubair, Talha, Abu Ubaidah, in one narration, Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, all of them became Muslim through Abu Bakr. Those are 6 of the 10 who were promised Jannah, 10 of the greatest companions. And one of them he gave da'wah to was also As-Sakran ibn Amr. So As-Sakran ibn Amr became Muslim through Abu Bakr. And then his wife also, Sawda bint Zam'aa, became Muslim. When the Muslims were then undergoing punishment, torture, execution, abuse, terror in the hands of the disbelievers, the kuffar of Mecca, and they were told to go and migrate to Habasha, Abyssinia, where there was a land of peace, they could worship their Lord there, even though it was under Christian king. They went there, and then some of them came back, and then the second migration happened to Habasha again, to Abyssinia, which is today Ethiopia. As-Sakran ibn Amr, together with his wife Sawda, were part of that second migration to Habasha. So this shows you their excellence, shows you how they were from the first and foremost of Muslims. This raises in their status. And it is said, As-Sakran, on the way back, they came back to Mecca, or he died in Habasha. But the closest and the most correct of the versions of the story is that he came back to Mecca, and then he died in Mecca. And so Sawda was left as a widow, and by the way, they had a son called Abdullah, who was now an orphan. This is around the same time when the Prophet ﷺ lost his love, lost the love of his life, the support, the first Muslim, the greatest woman of women, Khadija radiallahu anha. And the Prophet ﷺ was very much saddened because of that loss. And he stayed like that for a while. And the Sahaba, the companions, the believers, they saw in the Prophet ﷺ the dismay, the sadness which showed. So after a while, this great woman, Khawla bint Hakim, because they felt for their Prophet ﷺ, they loved him, They cared for him. She came to the Prophet ﷺ and said, Ya Rasulullah, ala tazawwaj. Why don't you get married now? Khadija has passed, you have mourned. You're a man. And like we talked about in the story of Khadija, the Prophet ﷺ was left with a lot of children after his wife died. So Khawla says, why don't you get married? At least you'll have a woman next to you, your comfort, your wife. At least these children will have a mother. So the Prophet ﷺ, he said, Waman, who? She said, Khawla bint Hakim, Imma thayyib aw bikr. If you want a woman who's been previously married, or if you want a virgin girl who's never been married. He asked who? And she said, Amma bikra, as for the virgin girl, فَإِبْنَةُ أَحَبَّ خَلْقِ اللَّهِ إِلَيْكَ. Then that is the daughter of the most beloved human to you, and that is Abu Bakr, the daughter of Abu Bakr, Aisha. And we have to note that the Prophet ﷺ had been shown in his dreams that he is going to marry Aisha. He said, oh, Amma Thayyib, what about the woman who's older, who's been married before? She said, Sawda bint Zam'aa, آمنت بك واتبعتك. Sawda bint Zam'aa, she believed, she followed you, she's a Muslim, she migrated, and her husband died. So the Prophet ﷺ said, okay, do it. Khawla bint Hakim, radiallahu anha, may Allah be pleased with that woman. How great of a woman she is, how courageous, how bold, how loving, that she wanted to take care, make sure the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet of Islam, was comfortable. So she went out to the house of Sawda. And remember, Sawda had an orphan boy, Abdullah, in his house. She was living in the house of her father, who was a very old man. When she went there, she said, what great news and blessings has come to you. She said, what is it? Khawla said, the Prophet ﷺ sent me to propose. She said, Subhanallah, I'd love that. I would love that. Who would say no to the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the greatest man, the greatest husband, the most loving human being? She said, I'd love that. Now this is a point, look. But go mention that to my father. Subhanallah, look at that. Look at the respect she had for her father, even though, by the way, the father was not mentioned to be Muslim. She said, no, go mention that to my father. So Khawla went and knocked. The old man, he was very old, asked, who's there? She said, Khawla bint Hakim. And Khawla bint Hakim, by the way, was the wife of the great companion Uthman ibn Mad'un. Uthman ibn Mad'un was very close to the Prophet ﷺ. He is the 13th man, as they say, to become Muslim, 13th person to become Muslim, one of the first ones. And he's the first Muslim to die, one of the first Muslims to die in Medina, but the first Muslim to be buried in the famous graveyard or cemetery of Al-Baqi', where all those great human beings are buried. Khawla bint Hakim was the wife of Uthman ibn Mad'un. So she entered upon Zam'aa. I said, this is Khawla bint Hakim. What brings you here? She said, Muhammad, the son of Abdullah, because he was not Muslim, the father, has sent me to propose to your daughter. The man said, Kuf'un Kareem, a noble, exceptional, equal man, deserving of my daughter. What do you say? Everybody would say that. But then she said, subhanAllah, look at this. Even though he is not Muslim, look at the great character they had. He said, Kuf'un Kareem, a noble, exquisite, exceptional, equal to my daughter. But what does your friend say? He knew that you cannot force your daughter to get married. Some of these cultures, guys, we have, they're not Islam. In Islam, you cannot force a woman to get married to a husband. That marriage is batil, invalid, doesn't even stand. What does your friend say? Khawla said, oh, she's loving the idea. She wants it. And that is how the Prophet ﷺ got married to Sawda bint Zam'aa. Now at the same time, the news was also sent, remember, to Aisha. And the Prophet ﷺ proposed to Aisha through her father, Abu Bakr. And Abu Bakr, of course, accepted. Because this was a marriage which was guided. The Prophet ﷺ was sent by Allah. he was shown in a dream, and his dreams, the dreams of the prophets, are revelation. So the Prophet ﷺ, he did the nikah with Aisha and then did the nikah with Sawda. But Aisha, he never consummated the marriage, he never took her as a wife because she was young. But Sawda, she immediately became the wife of the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet ﷺ had his daughters, Kulthum, Fatima, young girls. He had in his house Ali ibn Abi Talib. He had the children of Khadija who had just passed away, Hind bint Atiq and Hind ibn Abu Hala. And Sawda came with her son Abdullah. The Prophet ﷺ was a man. He didn't just marry for desires. By the way, how old was Sawda when she got married? They say she was around 50 or 55 years old, either equal to the Prophet ﷺ or even a little bit older. Sawda bint Zam'aa was distinctive in that time in Arabia because she was big. Like she was tall, and she was a little bit, what you say, how do you call it today? She was someone who was big. She was a little bit chubby, if you want to call it like that. So she was very distinctive. Everybody knew her. Sawda bint Zam'aa radiallahu anha. But she stood out because she was very wise. She was very smart. And she used to be very humorous. Because the Prophet ﷺ is going through all these hardships. Khadija has passed away. Someone had to fill those unfillable heavy shoes of Khadija, but she tried. Sawda bint Zam'aa, may Allah give her Jannah. She used to be very humorous. She used to make the Prophet ﷺ laugh. Sawda bint Zam'aa, she stayed with the Prophet ﷺ for those 3 years, and she was the only wife until the order came down for Muslims to migrate from Mecca and go to Medina, the Hijrah. And the Prophet ﷺ left, and then his whole family came after him. And there Sawda radiallahu anha stayed with the Prophet ﷺ, and then after that he started sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He got his wife Aisha, and he married other women, but she was like the first one. She was like the elder wife, and they used to know her like that, and they used to like her all the other wives. And like we say, she was someone who she loved humor, and she was very smart, but she was also very well known for being generous and very God-fearing. Sawda bint Zam'aa radiallahu anha, just to show you some of her humor. One day, she woke up and she tells the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Ya Rasulullah, last night we were praying Qiyamul Layl, the night prayer. And we were in ruku for so long, I started holding my nose because I thought I was going to start bleeding. That's how long the ruku was. And the Prophet ﷺ started laughing. Sawda bint Zam'aa, look at this. This is something I want to mention. This is a testimony to show you how great she was. All of us know the status of Aisha radiallahu anha. But Aisha says in the authentic hadith, ما من امرأة, there's no woman who I love to have been like her than Sawda bint Zam'aa. Allahu Akbar. Aisha says there's no other woman who I'd love to be like her than Sawda bint Zam'aa. That is enough of a testimony. Sawda bint Zam'aa, one day she's sitting with the Prophet ﷺ. It's her day. As you know, the Prophet ﷺ used to divide the days between his wives, each wife one day. And Aisha comes and carries with her a meal she prepared, some meat or whatever it is. Now, obviously, this is, co-wife politics, because why are you bringing food during my day? She came, she brought the food, and then Aisha says, eat Sawda. I brought some food. And obviously she says, I'm never going to touch your food. And the Prophet ﷺ was smiling. So Aisha, being young Aisha, she says, Wallahi, you're going to eat, or I'm going to smear your face with that food. And Sawda said, no, I'm not going to eat. So Aisha actually dipped her hand in the food and force-fed her and put it around her face. When she did that, the Prophet ﷺ started laughing, And Sawda put her hand in the dish, and the Prophet ﷺ held Aisha down and said to Sawda, revenge, payback, give it, smear her face also. This is how the Prophet ﷺ used to play with his wives, guys. Sometimes you gotta take it easy, and this is life. Life is as hard as it can be already. Marriage is about sukuna, tranquility, peace, humor, laughter, love. That is true love right there. That is true love right there. Another story which is mentioned in this life of Sawda, we know that Aisha radiallahu anha was close to Hafsa. And subhanAllah, what a great people. One day Sawda, of course Sawda is old, like we say, she's in her 60s now. She's in her 60s. She came and she was dressed fine, like she was elegant, like, oh man, she was dressed down or dressed up, whatever you want to use, up or down. Like she was dressed. And the two of them said, look at this one. She comes into our house like this, dressed properly, and we look like this. And the Prophet ﷺ is going to come very soon. So they devised a plot. They planned. Inna kunna sawahibat Yusuf, as the Prophet ﷺ said, you are the people like the women who planned against Yusuf alayhi salam. They said, Sawda, oh, did you hear? The Dajjal has come out. Kharaj al-A'war, the one-eyed one, has come out. And because she used to be a woman who feared Allah a lot, and every true Muslim would fear that time, she panicked and she got so scared, and she went into the corner of the house where there was cobwebs and dirt and all of that, and she spoiled all her clothes and she was hiding them. These two women were just laughing. They were just laughing. Until the Prophet ﷺ came in, and he said, why are you laughing so hard? And they couldn't control themselves, but he knew that these two were up to something, cooked something. So when he looked around, they pointed to her, and the Prophet ﷺ said, yes, Sawda, why are you hiding here? And she was like, oh, all our clothes are just spoiled. And she said, Ya Rasulullah, Kharaj al-A'war, did the Dajjal come out? The Prophet ﷺ said, looking at them, no, he didn't come out, but he's going to come out one day. This is Sawda bint Zam'aa. May Allah be pleased with her. A woman of true loyalty. Someone who took care of her husband. May Allah be pleased with her. I hope you got inspired. If you have any question, please post it on the comment section. Don't forget to share and like this video and get inspired. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us from those who follow these people and become like them. Wassalamu alaikum. And now because Sawda radiallahu anha, like we said, she was old, it is mentioned that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam contemplated or thought of divorcing her. Or she felt like that, because again, she was very old. So one day, look at how smart this woman was. She came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and said, Ya Rasulullah, O Messenger of Allah, I have no need of a man anymore in terms of physical, emotional needs. But I would not want except to be resurrected as one of your wives. So I'm giving my day and my time to Aisha. Allah. That is true wisdom, true strategy, a true intellectual. She knew that the Prophet ﷺ loves Aisha more than anyone. So if I give my day to Aisha, the Prophet ﷺ is going to love me more. And that's what she did. She gave her time to Aisha radiallahu anha. And this shows us that if a wife wants to give up some of her rights for her husband, there's nothing wrong with that Islamically. If the wife says, you know what, don't pay rent, I'll take care of rent, you bring the food, there's nothing wrong with that. Sawda bint Zam'aa radiallahu anha, obviously like all the other wives of the Prophet ﷺ except Zainab, they outlived and they buried the Prophet ﷺ, and she died in the Khilaf of Umar, as it is said. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be pleased with her.